Hello and welcome to our Mobile Builder series. My name is David Aha and I'll be your guide as we build a mobile application together on the Now platform. Today we'll be walking through the very first few steps in building a basic screen UI policy. The purpose of a screen UI policy is so that you can improve the readability on your mobile screens, allowing users to focus on the most important information that they need for their day-to-day. With the screen UI policy, you can control whether the fields are mandatory or visible on your mobile screen. Screen UI policies are similar to the UI policies for forms, except the screen UI policies cannot control whether a field is read-only, the conditions cannot be scripted, and the reference and datetime fields cannot be used in the conditions. In this video, we're going to create a screen UI policy for my active instance applet so that when the state of an incident is on hold, we'll hide the on hold reason. And then we're going to create a UI policy for an update action so that when the user is changing the state of an action to on hold, the on hold reason will be visible and require user's input. To get the screen UI policy to work, we're going to first create our screen UI policy and the UI policy rule, which will apply its rules when the data on the screen matches the policy conditions. Then we're going to create a new action, first an action item, the action function, and lastly associating the action function to an applet. Let's get started. Let's open up a new UI policy. We'll click Create New. We'll name this on hold reason. The table is going to be the incident table. And then let's set our condition to when state is on hold. We'll make sure to check mark reverse is false, and I'll explain this further in a second. And lastly, we just have to make sure that active is check marked as well. Once we're done, we'll go ahead and submit. The next step is to create a UI policy rule in the related list. So let's open up the UI policy that we just created. We'll then create a new UI policy rule. We'll leave the name as on hold reason. The field is going to be the on hold reason field from the incident table. Visible is going to be true because we want on hold reason field to be visible when the state's on hold. And since we check mark reverse is false, this also means that the on hold reason will be hidden when the state is not on hold. For mandatory, we're going to set this as true. As a screen field, mandatory won't apply, but as a user input field on an action, this will require users to fill in a value. Once we're done, we'll go ahead and submit. Going back to our mobile device, we'll do a quick refresh on the home screen. We'll click into Mobile Builder and into Active Instance. Let's click into this first incident here that's in progress. If we look into details, the on hold reason field's hidden since our state is not on hold. So let's go back to our primary screen and let's try to find an incident that is on hold. There's a lot of things going on here, so let's go ahead and filter in the top right. And what we're going to filter out for is we're going to look for state, on hold. And now we only see incidents that are on hold. If we click into this first one here, we'll see that the on hold reason is visible. It's awaiting the caller, which indicates to us that this UI policy is working. The next step is to create our action to change the state of an incident. With this, I can show you how UI policies can be used to hide fields and make fields mandatory for actions. We've already created the change state action ahead of time, so let's go ahead and review this now. Going back to Mobile Studio, opening up our action item for change state. You'll see that we created a couple action items for state and on hold reason. Now let's go ahead and open up our action function for change state. You'll see that associated the action item to here. And we also created a couple UI parameters for state and on hold reason as well. Let's take a quick look at the UI parameter for state. On the top left here, we can change the view from mobile to default. And this will show the rest of the fields here. Quickly glancing through this, the state UI parameter is a mandatory type field. It's going to have a choice list for users to pick from. And then if we check out the UI parameter for on hold reason, let's change the view to default view. You'll see that we purposely left the mandatory blocks unchecked because I want to use this opportunity to show you how UI policies can be used to enforce user input on an action as well. The on hold reason will also be a choice list for users to pick from, and according to our UI policy, it is a mandatory field and it will only show up when the state is on hold. Once we're done with our action function, and we've also completed our action parameter mappings, the very last step is to associate this change state action to an applet. For this example, we're going to assign the change state action to the list applet with active instance. On our primary screen, we'll associate it as a swipe function, and on the detail screen, we'll associate it on the top menu. Since we're changing the state of individual records, these are the only places where this will work. So let's get started by opening up active instance, Applet. On the primary screen, we'll click into Functions, and then we'll create a new swipe. For the label, we'll call this Change State. This will be a left swipe. We'll select our action. And now we have our swipe function. We'll also click into Details, into Functions, and then we'll add this to the top menu as well. We'll also name this Change State. Function will be Change State. And once we're done, we'll go ahead and click Save, and then we'll test this on our app. Back on device, we'll go back to the home screen, and then we'll refresh. We'll click into Mobile Builder, into Active Instance, and for this first instance here, we can use the swipe action to change the state, or I can click into the incident, I can see the details, and I do want to point out that the current state's in progress. If I go to the top menu and I change the state, you'll notice that the on-hold reason field isn't here. Since we create a UI policy to hide the on-hold reason field anytime that the state's not on hold. So let's change the state to on hold. And now you'll see that the on hold reason will appear. Let's go ahead and say that the on hold reason is awaiting the caller, and then we'll submit. Now you'll see the state has changed to on hold and our on hold reason is visible. And in just minutes, we just created our very first UI policy. As you can see, screen UI policies and UI policies for actions can be configured to hide and improve the overall readability of your mobile screens so that users can focus on what's most important. This wraps up our quick introduction to UI policies. Thank you for watching.